Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video I'm going to share with you guys my watch list. Now the watch list series on the channel is something new that I'm trying, where I share with you guys some players that I'm looking to bring into my team for the upcoming game week. Now for this week it's special because I'm on a free hit myself in game week 2. I will expand more on that as we go along in today's video. But specifically for this week, since I'm on a free hit, I will be mainly looking at players that are good for the longer term, and I'll likely only be able to bring them in from Game Week 3, because the players that I bring in now in Game Week 2, I lose them and I come back to my original team come Game Week 3. So the players that I'll discuss today are really those that have caught my eye from Game Week 1 in terms of the games that we've seen, and also whether their fixtures are kind of good moving forward, at least in the next 5 to 6 game week horizon. So I'll talk about them in a bit. Just wanted to run through very quickly my scores for Game Week 1. I scored 59 points here. So in terms of my game week rank as well, it is pretty much my live rank, which is 2.6 million in the world. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm happy enough to get 59 points, and most of the key players that I have returning, mainly the double Spurs defense. Now this was a pairing that I decided to go for at the last minute. I decided to go for double Spurs, knowing that that would mean in game week 2 I have 2 Spurs defenders against Man City, and it pretty much locks me into a free hit, but that was always part of the plan. And then Sanchez keeping a clean sheet here, 7-pointer. Eze did put the ball in the back of the net, but it was ruled out, and then 7-pointer for Sanchez when the clean sheet was kept in the end. Now in midfield, Salah with a return, last minute return. And I'll speak about Reinders here because obviously he's the player that everyone is looking at, and I really wanted to quantify how good of a performance he put up. So I went over to Fantasy Football Scout, and basically, by the way, I am an affiliate of Fantasy Football Scout. If you guys are interested to kind of check out stats for yourself, they are still running a promotion. The first link in the description will get you to Fantasy Football Scout. But I wanted to quantify how good Reinders was, and in terms of touches in the final third, he got 30 touches, and that was the highest out of any other player in the Man City versus Wolves game. Moving on to passes received in the final third, he's also the highest with 19. And lastly, in terms of goal threat, in terms of penalty area touches, he's only second to Haaland here. Haaland at 7 touches, and Reinders already at 5 touches. So I think in general, you see how involved Reinders was. He was essentially playing as the midfielder that was crashing into the box with those late runs, a little bit like the Gundogan of old. So I think Reinders at 5.5, now 5.6 because he's risen, is quite a bit of a gem if he's able to kind of repeat these performances, and obviously if he functions in this same way that Pep has set up. But knowing Pep, it's always based on the opponents and how he wants to tackle the opponent's weaknesses, and it's not going to be that every single game Reinders will be the box crashing midfielder. It could be in some games he sits back a little bit. We don't really know. We don't have a big enough sample size, but at least based off what we see, and especially how cheap Reinders is, he could be the most underpriced player in FPL this season. That's why everyone is going for him. So I don't mind it. What I'll also say about Reinders is that in terms of fixtures for Man City, it's not absolutely necessary to go out and get Reinders in. Because if you look at the fixtures for Manchester City, it's Spurs in Game Week 2, Brighton in Game Week 3, Manchester United in Game Week 4, and then Arsenal in Game Week 5. From Game Week 6 onwards, I think the fixtures start to turn a little bit. So I think in terms of a swing, that's where you're looking at. But really, when you look at these next few fixtures coming up, I don't think it's absolutely necessary to go for Reinders. But another way of thinking about it is also that he's only 5.6 million. And if you, for example, have a player that in your starting 11 that didn't start in Game Week 1, then I think it's pretty much a no-brainer to go for Reinders. Take a gamble that at that price point, even if he doesn't play in that same position or same function in the team, it's not too big of a risk. And he could always pop off with the return against these opponents from Game Week 2 to Game Week 5. And they are Man City after all, right? So just to put it into context, I also don't think that Man City is going to score 4 goals every single game. But we'll see. Reinders is a popular player. Now, in terms of my Game Week 2 team, this is what you see on screen, and I locked myself into a free hit in Game Week 2 by going for double Spurs defense, and I knew that I wanted to do this. I look at Murillo as well, playing Crystal Palace away, and I have Sa, who's going to be playing against Murillo, so also not ideal. So when I look at the defensive cover that I have as well, I mainly have Anderson, who's playing Manchester United, so also not great. And then the only ones with good fixtures are Esteve, the Burnley guys, Dubravka against Sunderland as well. But really, in terms of Burnley, looking at how they performed in Game Week 1, I'm also not convinced. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that I locked myself into a Game Week 2 free hit, and this was intentional. And looking at, the games for Game Week 1 and the picks that I've decided to go for, I did upload an early draft that obviously has changed, in light of various performances, especially Gyökeres being quite uninvolved and subbed off at the 60th minute. So I'll upload my updated draft on Thursday, but at least for the purpose of today's video, I wanted to discuss some players that I'm looking at for the longer term, because most of you guys won't be on a free hit in Game Week 2 strategy, but I still wanted to talk about some players that are on my mind, and I may bring them in the future. All right, so the first one I'd look at is in terms of the midfield positions, because Cole Palmer has been largely uninvolved in the game against Crystal Palace. I may remove him if he starts to continue stinking it up against these opposition here. I mean, the fixtures are great, but really I need those numbers to come up if he's going to cost me 10.5. Right, so if I do have to look for a replacement for Cole Palmer, the ones that I'm actually looking at aren't too expensive. Semenyo and Kudus. Semenyo at 7.1 million and Kudus at 6.5. These are the two players that kind of caught my eye in terms of midfielders, obviously aside from Tijjani Reinders. So looking at Semenyo and Kudus, when you see the heat map here, they mainly function in a similar position, right, in terms of where they set up. And Kudus was more of a assister. He was more of a creative asset, and Semenyo was more of a finisher. And I'll use data to kind of back this up. So in terms of the expected numbers, XG-wise, you see that Semenyo put up 0.91, so a huge amount of XG. He scores 2 goals as a result as well. In terms of XG, then Kudus is at 0.06. So not someone that you would, look to in terms of goals, at least based off of the Game Week 1 performance. Obviously, I know Kudus is a great football player. He's got many great goals for West Ham. But really the function and how Kudus is being used is something I need to monitor, because he was much more of an assist threat, putting in lots of crosses, and 0.58 in terms of expected assists is what got him the 2 assists, right? And then obviously correspondingly for Semenyo, it's not great assist numbers. So overall, what I'd say is Kudus seems to me like a bit more of an assist threat now. Semenyo seems to be a bit more of an attacking threat. Fixtures-wise, for both of these players, it's not too bad, right, for both of them. Semenyo's fixtures is Wolves, Spurs, Brighton, Newcastle, Leeds, Fulham. I think the Bournemouth fixtures have really largely gone under the radar since Game Week 1 because they played Liverpool. Really, from Game Week 2 onwards, they're actually one of the top few in terms of the fixture taker. So I don't mind Semenyo at 7.1. And then Kudus, slightly cheaper at 6.5. Fixtures are still very good. I'm free hitting in Game Week 2, so I will miss this Man City game. Come Game Week 3, the run for Tottenham is really good. Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Wolves, Leeds. I could very well go for Kudus as well. Hope that the function of Kudus doesn't only limit him to being an assister, but more of a goal threat as well. That's what I want to see moving forward, that he continues to get those XG numbers up. But if not, these two players definitely on the radar. And lastly, in terms of João Pedro here, he only played 70 minutes against Crystal Palace, only scored 1 point. And generally, I think going into Game Week 1, I kind of knew that João Pedro would share minutes with Liam Delap. He was always someone that, the crowd went with, and his ownership was really high, but he was putting up really, really good performances in pre-season. But that, obviously, against Crystal Palace, didn't happen. He will have the West Ham game, And then, from there on, the fixtures after that, Fulham, Brentford, Manchester United, Brighton, they're still good, but I'll need returns from him. If not, the next player I'm looking at is Chris Wood. Now, Chris Wood at 7.5 million as well has really, really good fixtures. I mean, we knew that about Nottingham Forest, but Chris Wood went under the radar because of multiple reasons, right? Nottingham Forest not scoring any goals in pre-season, and then, or not scoring many goals in pre-season, and then Nuno Espirito Santo coming out in the press conference just before Gameweek 1 to say that they're really not prepared, and then they go on to win Brentford 3-1. So, not sure if that's a bit of mind games, but overall, Chris Wood's fixtures are really good. What I'll say, though, about Chris Wood is when I compare him to João Pedro's performance, because he's the player that I'll bring in for João Pedro, supposedly, they actually didn't fare too differently in terms of, performance, right? Chris Wood took 2 shots. I mean, obviously, scoring 2 goals is great, right? But I really look at the underlying numbers here. And Chris Wood took 2 shots. João Pedro also took 2 shots. Granted, João Pedro's shots, the quality of those chances weren't as good. But when I look at attempts, right, I look at the goal threat here. For Chris Wood, he got 2 attempts on goal. Both of them were in the box, and he scored from both of these goals. But João Pedro also had 2 attempts, both of them also in the box. One of it was a header. And I think in general, in terms of how involved both of these players were, I'd say that they're equally uninvolved. They were equally, not taking as many shots as we would like them to. But the difference was that Chris Wood was doing what Chris Wood does and puts away those chances. João Pedro didn't put away those chances, but he did pick up those 2 attempts in goal as well. Same number of penalty area touches. So again, point is to say that on another day, maybe Chris Wood doesn't score that many, and maybe João Pedro scores a bit more. Fixtures-wise, it's not going to put me off. If João Pedro starts to pick up a return here, then I won't be looking at Chris Wood anymore. But if he does start to stink it up, then Chris Wood with these fixtures, definitely someone I'm looking at 7.5 million. So there we go for the watch list. Semenyo, Kudus, and Chris Wood. Let me know what you guys think and which other players you guys are looking at. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do drop a like. Please do subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the final free hit 2 draft that I'll be uploading on Thursday. Bye-bye.